morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday morning trading session. The markets just opened up with a rather substantial gap lower. Hold on here a second. I will show you what I mean. So here is the NASDAQ. We opened right about here somewhere. Here's the European open, or pardon me, the European session. You can see very, very active. And here was the Asian session, also very, very wild. You can see our open is very close to these lows, but this is what I wanted to show you, is after the markets closed yesterday, right about here, once the Asian session took over, the NASDAQ just went into a tailspin. And here we are. So they dipped below the overnight lows, and now we're coming back. It will be interesting to see whether or not they try to fill this as a gap or whether they're just going to stay away from it and just keep falling off. Right now it looks like the NASDAQ trying to rally a little bit, but as always, when you get these little tight upwards progressions, very often they end up looking a lot like a bear flag, where we get this kind of scenario, a little bit of a pullback, and then the market heading lower again. So we'll see how this plays out. Of course, it's only the first few minutes after the open. Gonna try not to get too excited. Not yet, anyway. If we get a little bit more structure, I might try a trade on the Eagle or perhaps even on the Raptor. Oh, we're actually getting a late filter entry signal here on the oops, come on. No, they ran away on me. I'm not going to take it now. I saw this a little bit too late. I saw it after it was already a couple, 3 bars into it, but here's a late filter entry signal. I think with the volatility the market has been having of late, you really got to run a very deep stop and sit on it. Crude oil a little bit sideways this morning, and we're actually getting a kind of like a rule of 3 type setup here. Nothing definite yet. It looks very much like crude oil is stuck in this type of trading range. So the rule of 3, of course, is when you get 3 signals against the band. Here we had a rule of 3, even though it was only 2 signals against the band. This is shaping up to be a rule of 3, even though we only have 1 signal against the band. So how can I call it a rule of 3? Well, the rule of 3 is always preceded by a test of the extreme and a failure. Here too, a test of the extreme and a failure. That's the only thing that made that signal attractive. And it looks like I'm a little bit late on that one too. So I would dearly love to see that same type of setup now in something like the Raptor here, where we get a failure and the market's starting to head lower. These very large opening gaps always make the initial trading difficult because there's so much pressure on the market to fill the gap, but there's huge momentum that brought the market lower also. So I never really know which way to take them. That's right, we'll let the dust settle for a little bit. What are we? We're only about 5 minutes into the session. I think one thing you can be sure of is there's not going to be a lot of traders carrying open positions by the end of the session. Here's crude oil on the hawk. We're getting a first micro-macro cross, a little bit problematic because ideally we'd want to cover up there, and that's going to be impossible. So let's see if we can cover back to this little resistance area. That's doable. Not a bad looking trade as far as crude oil goes. And now they're pulling back a little bit more. So this is a situation now where it's kind of put up or shut up time. As the market retreats, you can see it becomes more difficult to delay your entry because we're giving up so much open profit just to gain entry on the trade. Just out of reach. Okay, so we're working on a macro pullback signal at the moment. And if the market heads higher from here, I think we're going to see another rally in crude oil. This is kind of the last chance on the part of the sellers to send the market lower. Now you're going to notice we've broken this swing low here. We normally anticipate two moves in the direction of the breakout. The big question is, how big is the second move going to be? Hopefully it'll be big enough to at least find my profit objective. All right, so here we go with our crude oil trade. Oh, and they slipped me a tick too. Let's see if I can get, there we go. 46.10 will be our profit target. Well, let's see, did they hit our target? Actually, no, they hit our break even. Well, that's all right. Yeah, look at that. Just came up a tick short. Darn it, I should have left it at 46.11. Oh well. It's better than a loss. That was very close. I almost thought we had that. All right, so keep an eye on that. If crude oil fails here, I think we're going to see a trend change signal, excuse me, and a chance to take it higher. Back to the action here at the NASDAQ, which is still fairly strong. Actually, before we get into the NQ, it looks like we're getting a possible sell here on soybeans, which have been in a little bit of a decline, it looks like, at least for the very short term. I thought soybeans put in a rally the other day. Here we are with our first micro macro cross. This one oh darn it, I thought we could cover above the high. All right, can we cover it back to the macro line? Well, we can at least cover it back to the macro line. Not a bad looking trade. We're very much here in a bit of a sideways congestion also. Right, so when you get these sideways channels happen, what the best scenario is to let the market break, retest, and then look for your next opportunity. But first micro macro cross, normally a fairly reliable signal. We'll see how it pans out. So a couple opportunities early on. Wow, the NQ just giving her great guns. A little bit of sideways congestion going on. Oh, and here they go. They're going to tempt me with a 4-arrow consolidation. Maybe if I take my time, it'll bolt before they test me. Oops, there, I got my wish. I just go to hit the order. So a 4-arrow consolidation, 1, 2, 3, 4 signals. The problem, as you saw where I was placing my stop, is we've got a very active market. We need a lot of room here. Okay, here's a macro pullback. This is perhaps a little bit more promising. Oh, and now we're into yellow bars and a red bar buy. So essentially what we're looking for now is a test of the extreme. The only good thing about this is that we can cover the trade a little bit closer to the swing low. And now, of course, it's drifted low enough that that's no longer a problem. Yeah, I think Tony's right. Tony makes a comment here that it would seem that at some point today the big boys are going to sell off. I doubt they're going to hold for 3 days. I think they may have started selling off last night. Jim would like to see the support and resistance lines on the YM. Absolutely. 1 second here. I'll bring it over for you. Oops. 1 sec, Jim. I got to load a little bit more data here. Okay, so here's the mini Dow now with the support and resistance lines on the Raptor. And it looks as though we just took a little bit of a poke through the primary support, trading back underneath it. So 161.61, at least according to the programming, is the influential number. Don't be surprised if it tops out at 161.60. And downside target 160.91, which again is pretty darn close to 161 even. Just curious where they've been in relation to the support and resistance suite. Took a bounce off of the median line, went 2 zones lower. Almost tried to get a 3rd zone. And here they are fighting with the primary support once again, looking like they're going to drift a little bit lower. Look at the size of these lines, though. Normally we see the formation's a little bit tighter. Not lately. All that volatility has really loosened things up a little bit. Oh, sorry, Jim wanted to see a few more lines. Hold on. Okay, so the lines you're looking for are 160.91, 160.22, 159.18. I doubt we'll get any lower than that. The median at 162.30 and the primary resistance at 163 even. All right, I guess I better get busy here. Looks like we've missed a couple good opportunities. A nice trend change signal there on the Falcon, and equally nice first micro macro cross signal here on the Hawk. Both of them you should have had no trouble finding your profit objectives there. The advanced decline seriously lopsided this morning again. Almost 300 buyers and 2,300 sellers, so negative 2,000. Wow. What is it with all these lopsided numbers lately? Yes, I do regret not catching this signal right here. This was a juicy one, both on the Hawk and the Falcon. Not so easy to pick up on the Eagle because there was very little structure going into this. I would not have sold. Here, I'm going to be like the other trade room moderators out there. Yeah, I would have sold the Eagle right here. And yeah, I would have all this open profit right now because I'm so smart. I love how they do things in hindsight. There wasn't enough structure here. If we had had a test of the extreme before, yeah, I would have perhaps given it a go. Tried to cover above the high. Can I afford it? Oh, I can too. But of course, we needed that test of the extreme, which we did not have. But fortunately, we did get comparable signals in the Eagle, or pardon me, the Hawk and the Falcon, which you should have been able to capitalize on. So the NQ pretty much removing any gains that it had made this morning. And now we're taking a little bit of bounce off of the primary support line. Is that going to be it for the early morning sell-off? Quite possibly. Oh, spoke too soon. A little bit of a hop there. Okay, oh, come on, you guys, play nice. This is essentially another first micro macro cross here. You'll notice our trend lines went out of sync, our bar colors went out of sync, our filter went out of sync, and it's also what was I going to say? It distracted me there for a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, sorry. Our 4-arrow consolidation was up there. I was going to say it's our 4-arrow consolidation. And they're really giving me some attitude right now. I don't know how I feel about getting another 4-arrow consolidation so quickly after the last. When you start to get multiple repeating signals, it's not always a good thing. You know, to have an 8-arrow consolidation does not make it stronger. And we're trading at some pretty serious lows here. We might be getting a late filter entry on the Falcon also. So there's a lot of things. See, here's our late filter entry. All right, we'll give it a go. I'm not feeling really warm and fuzzy about it, but I guess if they can take out the lows, I'll go along for the ride. Okay, our filter is out of sync again, so we're going to nix the signal. Looks like they're gaining some support here off of the primary support area. We're getting an early trend change signal, and they may yet try to sneak this a little higher. I think I'm going to try to concentrate on the short side more than the buying counter trend. That's not to say we couldn't possibly see a big move higher. We certainly could. In fact, this is one of these situations where maybe you just want to throw an OCO in, right? Buy above the high, sell below the lows, and just let the market decide which way it wants to go. It's not a bad strategy. Now we're getting a proper trend change signal. We've got the up, we got the down, working on an up. The downtrend is the part that bothers me here. I would much rather short it than try to buy it. I'm not so sure, you know, if the buyers take it. Okay, there's our buy signal. Oh, what happened there? Okay, here we're going to pop in a market order just to simulate our buy. Has anyone else had that issue with the OCO orders? That Okay, I guess I better get a stop enabled here. So we're going to start with our stop down there. So had I gotten my order where I initially placed it, we would have at least hit our break-even trigger, but let's see if we can't get a little bit more out of this. Okay, I want to get ready for a a sell signal. So here's the eagle. This is now going to be our signal bar, this current one that's forming. If it finishes low, it will turn over the ATR line. This is a signal I would have perhaps a little bit more confidence in. Problem is, again, they're not real tests of the extreme here. I can't cover it way above there, unfortunately. Oh, I better get busy. Can I cover it above there? Yeah, okay, I can do that. And as I mentioned to you yesterday, I would not normally do this. Like if I had this trade going on and if I were still long in my Falcon trade, there is no way I would be taking a trade too short at the same time. Problem is that worst case scenario, you get stopped on both. So we're working a trend change signal now, and this is probably a good time to roll our stops. Ooh. Okay, so here comes the retest now. So we had our test, right? The breakout. This was our retest, and now we're trying to take the market higher. I'm going to move into the parabolics. In fact, I could be a lot more aggressive with this. I could even roll my stop right down here. If it fails, then see this bar here with this little bit of a tail in it? If the bar fails now, well then it's probably a good time to leave. Okay, trades at break even. All right, let's see. Can we take it up here to the median line? That would be quite the retracement. I'm going to scrub my eagle order. What do we have in open profit? Not quite to our profit objective yet. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think we were. Yes, we definitely hit our first profit target. Actually, I'm not going to make it work that hard. Come on, get going. We'll give you a little nudge. Oh, come on, show me 150 and I'll grab it. No, they're going to tap me here in a second. Well, it was worth a poke. It'll make the broker happy. Got to keep the broker happy. All right, so now they're softening up a little bit again. It doesn't look like the buyers were all that serious about pushing the market up. They didn't have a whole lot of upward momentum. So here we come with a green bar sell now on the Eagle. My goodness, back-to-back signals. This one we can cover up there. And we'll see whether or not this is going to be enough of a test of the extreme for this market. Okay, come on, sellers. If we can, well, obviously, if we can get it below these lows, we'll be in good shape, but that's still a long ways away. A little bit more sideways stuff going on here than I had hoped for. Very often, if you see a signal to the upside not complete, or lose momentum, then you're usually in good shape going the opposite direction. Usually being the operative word there. Nuts. And our soybean trade, I was just double checking, our soybean trade also came up short of its profit target, hit us at break even. So we're shooting a couple of blanks, and then the NQ just tapped me on a reversal. All right, you guys, it looks like it's still a little bit sideways. Excuse me just for a moment. I got to get myself something to drink. I'll be right back. Okay, what did I miss? Nothing. Oh, still moving sideways here. Still congesting. Fairly tight trading range, or relatively speaking to what we've seen. Here we are right in the middle of it. All right, everybody just kind of stuck. Crude sideways, soybeans sideways, NASDAQ sideways. May not be as active as a session as I was anticipating. I thought it was going to be screaming out of the gate, but not so. We'll just sit on it for a little bit, let them sort things out. Look at that push. Well, that had a decent follow through. Jim says the DAX is sitting at a double top. All right. Yeah, Jim says he's up 360 points for the week. Very good. Nice job. He says, I'm thinking of sitting on my hands for today. I think the key is to be very choosy today. The market, it's trying to rally, and yet the dominant trend still seems to be down. What I'm thinking is that this may turn out to be a very large test of the extreme, and we might see it head a little bit lower here, but I'm trying to keep an open mind. Of course, if we see it head lower and fail, then we've had the test of the extreme to the downside, then we can expect a rally. But generally speaking, it's very sideways. In fact, I could probably shoot a little channel line here. It's one of these days where if you don't get the right signal, you're going to be too late. Right? It's like the first micro-macro cross signal that developed right here. It developed a little bit too quickly. It just kind of went boom, 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 flashed the signal, and kept on going. But if you weren't there to punch into that, well, there was no second chance. No hesitation, no nothing. All right, things are starting to unwind a little bit now. We're starting to get a trend change signal here in the Falcon, or I should say a possible trend change signal, because now it's turning green again. Jesus is asking about crude oil. Let's go take a look at crude. Crude actually making a little bit of a rally. I should have been paying attention here to crude oil. We had a bigger test of the extreme. So crude oil opened right down here, went up, tested the extreme. This is what I was just talking about with the NASDAQ. Mini test of the extreme here, a failure comes back with the buy signal. So currently crude still plotting higher. That's on the Eagle. Let me take a look here at the Falcon and the Hawk for you. Falcon gave us a very good trend change signal. The early trend change signal down here off of the primary support. Now, with the early trend change signal, the signal comes into sync just as the trend line and filter come into sync. But you can tell it's the early signal because you've got the test of the extreme. If you miss that, a lot of times I'll forego the early trend change signal. The only nice thing about the early signal is that it makes it easier to cover your trade below the low. Right? So I could enter here, I could cover below the low, and if the market brings me in or reverses and it goes below this little swing low, well then I definitely know I'm on the wrong side. Right? No question. My stop is in a very good spot here. However, if I wait for the proper trend change signal, which occurs here, it's a little bit more difficult to cover. Right? Ideally, I'd like to cover down here, but there's no way I can cover the account that deep or the trade that deep. So then I start trying to find a halfway point, something where I think there's going to be enough structure to let me ride the market out. Well, if there's any kind of swing, I may get tagged prematurely. Not a problem this time, but certainly it can be a problem. So no new signal on crude, but we did have a couple decent signals there. Soybeans, pretty quiet. It's not like traders to really commit themselves to a grain market at this time of the year, especially over a 3-day break. I do believe that most of the world has a Labor Day holiday, but if you happen to live in a part of the world that does not, there will be no session on Monday. Trading room will be closed on Monday. I, for one, am looking forward to sleeping in. That's the worst part about being a trader on the West Coast. You got to get up so early. I have a trading friend who moved to the Ukraine. This is years ago. Doesn't seem like such a good idea now, but he moved to the Ukraine because of the time zones, where you can actually trade the North American and the European sessions. Okay, so you can see here on the Raptor, we're getting quite the formation building, almost like our rule of three. We've got a test of the extreme. This one doesn't really have a name yet, other than it's a sell signal. You could take a look at shorting here, covering above the high, and it's a little bit of a Hail Mary type trade. Yeah, okay, so they're reversing off of there, so that's fine. I'll cancel the order now. We'll see if it comes back with a little bit more structure to it. Oh yes, Tony. Tony says the moderator will be golfing, no doubt. Absolutely. As much as the weather will allow, we're actually getting a fair amount of rain in the last few days, which is, I know everybody thinks Pacific Northwest, it rains all the time, but our summer has been quite dry. We've actually had a drought. The advanced decline turning a little bit more bullish. Jim says we got 500 to the buy now and 2,200 to the sell. So that's about negative 1700, which is Still bearish on the surface, but we started at what, about a negative 2,000. It does appear as though they're content just to chop within the range that they've established this morning. Oh, there they go. Look at them buyers. I guess I should have stuck with the hard edge bounce. Right there, hard edge bounce, generates a signal. And right back to the highs. Yeah, Tony makes an excellent point here. And it's really tough to fight. I have issues with this myself. It takes a lot of practice to take your own personal bias out of the marketplace. Like Tony says, that trend line on the Raptor just goes to prove a trader should not go into a market with a personal bias. I was sure of a bear market today. Trading friend of mine always used to say, the big money is on the surprise side. Just when you think it can't go any lower, it goes lower. Just when you think it can't go any higher, it'll go higher. The longer term bias seems to be down. The short term bias at the moment seems to be up. Jim says lately it's been going 40 points higher than what he's been thinking. I guess you might want to see some of the resistance levels now. Hey, Jim. Here's the NQ again. So we just bypassed 162, or sorry, 161.61. Next level, 162.30. That's the median line. 162.99 or 163 even is the primary resistance. 163.69. And then you get 163.40. Sorry, 164.38. But I don't think we're going to see it get much outside of this range. I think we're going to test the top end of the trading range, and then they're going to run it back down to the bottom end of the trading range. That seems to be what they're into today. Well, we've got a macro pullback here. I'd feel a little better about it pulling back a little bit. Jim says, I know not to be biased, the Wolf wave count on the YM 162.60 area. I haven't followed Wolf waves very much. There's so many ways to skin this cat, the trading cat. All right, so now we're getting a first micro-macro cross to the downside. We're back down here to our support on the cloud, both in the Raptor and the Eagle. Possible trend change signal on the Falcon. I was just about to call it the whatchamacallit. All right, here we go. Let's get the first micro-macro cross in play. We're just about due. Okay, turning into a macro pullback now. And now we're into yellow bars. So the yellow bar nixes our macro pullback signal. Might still get a trend change signal here in the Falcon. And we'll see here in a moment whether the sellers can hold on to this after this little itty bitty breakout above the recent high, or if the buyers are going to walk away with it. Well, here's our eagle. Here's our hard edge bounce. This became our signal bar. We do have a chance at a second push on the entry here. I suppose I could set it up like this. I'm not in my happy place. I would just be that much more comfortable shorting today if we got a decent sell signal. So we're working on a green bar sell. So we've got the warning dot. I know the signal will print right about there. And now we're currently long, so I'm going to scrub that. Wow, just not getting the follow through. Yeah, Jim says the advanced decline is creeping up a little bit. It's a very difficult day today, folks. And I think it's because we're going into the holiday. I think Elvis has left the building, and it's just us pikers chopping each other up here for scraps. They're about to tag me there on the downside. Okay, I've got maybe one more in me, but it's going to take a while to get the structure I need. I tossed a couple of darts this morning, and neither of them had the follow through that they were supposed to. And okay, here's a first micro macro cross. They didn't want to go up. Are they going to want to go down? And then that'll be it. If this one doesn't want to play nice either, then time to go. Okay, we'll readjust this now. The better entry was the lower one, but of course the market starts to drift so far that it's no longer feasible. All right, come on. Come on, you want to. Well, I suppose if they're going to give it up here, they're going to at least retreat to the macro line, so I might as well take it to break even. This one's a runner, Jim. Jim's asking if I've got a profit target on this one. I'm going to try to let this one run out. See if we can't get back to this morning's lows, maybe here even 41.71. 41.74 would be the primary support. And they're going to tap me at break even. Oh, scoundrels. That one's got potential too. Getting a sell signal here on the Raptor, which hasn't engaged yet. Getting some support off of the cloud. Okay, we're going to try to run this one out too. I think we're finally on the right side of a trade. If we can get some follow through, that is. There we go. That's more better. So there's the primary support down here at 4170. The lows of the morning at near 4172. Those will be my profit objectives. Come on. Oh, you guys. Yeah, they're definitely not playing nice today. No, they're about to tap me as well, unless the sellers step up in a hurry. It's going to be a short-lived trade. In fact, I'm going to hold my stop above the high here. Not sure why it rolled that quickly, but it's hard enough. Almost. Come on. Come on. Oh, man. It's just turning out to be that kind of day. Come on. Come on. Oh my gosh, that was hard work. All right, you guys, I'm going to let this one run for the rest of the session. I think we're going to close up the room. It doesn't look like we're going to get a whole lot of opportunities today. My particular bias is still to be a seller. Unfortunately, this may be our best opportunity today. So if you're currently short, you may want to try to hang on, see if we can't recapture the lows. Otherwise, take an early weekend. That's probably the best advice I can offer. Okay, we'll see you Tuesday. Have a great long weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.